Many, many generations have grown up with him, starting from the Vietnam forests through Afghanistan and saving Christian missionaries from the genocide in Burma. John Rambo has finally come home 3 years ago. But can the military veteran be back in action for one more time? That's the question that most of the fans are asking. And here's what we know about it. Let's get started with a quick recap of what happened when we saw him last time.
I've watched people I've loved die.
There's no doubt that the Rambo movie franchise is one of the greatest of all time. Starting with the first movie in 1982, there have been 4 more in the last 40 years. And alongside Rocky, John Rambo's character surely built Sylvester Stallone's movie career. The movies managed to gross a respectable number of over $819 million worldwide, with a budget of almost $200 million. But the last episode, Rambo: Last Blood, is the last on that list. In 2019, when the movie was finally released, fans were impatient and delighted that another Rambo film would hit the theaters. But as many times, with big expectations, also big disappointments happen. And Last Blood was all but not a success. The lack of a good story and the poor graphic violence were only a few of the things that fans and film critics didn't like. Above that, the movie was also accused of racism and xenophobia toward the Mexican people. With a small budget for a movie made in the 21st century of only $50 million, the movie didn't even manage to double that number in grossing. One thing which was welcomed with wide open hands was Stallone's comeback to action, but everything else was put under criticism. Unfortunately, the movie was popular in the only place that it shouldn't be, and that was at the Golden Raspberry Awards, where it got 8 nominations in 2020. I know, it's very sad for a franchise like this to boast nominations from this event, but if it's any consolation, this wasn't the first time Stallone was nominated for this unpopular festival. In fact, he's used to it. Let's take a look at the story of Last Blood. The first thing you see is John Rambo sitting on the wooden chair in front of his ranch house. After so many events in his life, John is finally back home. He spends his seeming retirement days training horses and taking care of his adopted family, Maria and her granddaughter Gabrielle. He suffered so many times in his life, and these things have left many scars on his body. That's why he is taking a lot of pills that are helping him to fight his post-traumatic stress disorder. But his peaceful days at the ranch will come to an end when Gabrielle decides to go to Mexico and seek her long-lost father. The girl doesn't listen to John's words to not cross the borderline alone. And hit that like button below the video right now! No, really, just a moment after she steps on Mexican land, she gets kidnapped by some dangerous thugs led by the Martinez brothers, Hugo and Victor. These guys deal with sex trafficking and have a whole army of their henchmen. When he finds out about what happened to Gabrielle, Rambo goes to Mexico to try to rescue her, but he ends up beaten so badly by Martinez's thugs. They will leave him to die on the road, and only luck will save him. John will be found by a journalist named Carmen who will take him in. And he's back again. He heals his wounds and goes right back to trying to save Gabrielle once again. But when he finally gets her in his car, Gabrielle succumbs to injuries. Her tragic loss won't deter him from dealing with the mafia members, and when they come in big numbers and attack his ranch, Rambo is prepared. The underground tunnels and the different kinds of traps are waiting for them. One by one, Rambo sends the mobsters to the other world. And finally, it's Martinez's turn. But I'll stop here in case you still haven't seen the movie, and in case you still decide to give it a try. Even though you will only find negative reviews for the movie, you will agree that it was good to see Stallone back in the character's shoes once again. Yes, it isn't a masterpiece, and yes, it has a lot of shortcomings, but in the end, it will be a real shame not to watch it if it came to be the last one of the series.
But the time has come to face my past.
And can we hope that there could be another 6th film in the franchise after Last Blood? The answer right now is nobody knows, but there's always hope. The last Rambo adventure was planned in 2008, and it took a whole decade to hit the theaters. The movie was directed by Adrian Grunberg, who made a surprising decision to take the principal photography in Bulgaria. There is not any official announcement, but yes, There is a lot of talking and speculation about when the next Rambo movie could happen. Even in the 8th decade of his life, Stallone is pretty busy. He is currently working on the 3rd movie of Guardians of the Galaxy, the 4th one in the Expendables franchise, and recently a new TV series with him in the leading role was released, Tulsa King. So if this doesn't give you hope, then what does? 2023 can give us many more answers on whether Rambo 6 is coming or not. Let's get patient and give Stallone a little bit more time to think about it. And if Stallone decides to give a green light on the idea for a 6th film, who could appear alongside him in it? Another question that is very hard to be answered at this point. But fans already have some theories, and the most interesting one is that we could finally meet John's brother. Well, this character was previously rumored to show up in the 2008 film as a local sheriff, and once again for Last Blood, where he was supposed to be fighting together with Rambo. None of this has happened so far, so maybe the 3rd time we'll be lucky. The speculations right now say that it could be Dave Bautista who could portray the character. Fans think that Stallone and Bautista together, working in Guardians of the Galaxy, is something that needs to be considered by the next Rambo movie film runners. Most of the fans think that they complement each other, and that they should continue working together. Some of the other cast members that played a role in the last movie are Yvette Montreal, who played Rambo's adopted niece Gabrielle, and Ariana Barraza, who played her grandmother. This part of the movie was criticized the most by fans. Almost everyone agrees that you should smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell below the video. No, really. Fans agree that a Rambo movie should have better known faces, and some bigger stars in the cast and crew. But that's what you get with only a $50 million budget. If a 6th film happens soon, besides a better story, the producers and the next director must bring much more familiar faces to the cast. Now, let's find out what kind of information we have about the possible 6th Rambo installment. Even Stallone agrees that even though the last movie was called Last Blood, it wasn't the best way to end the Rambo saga. Recently, he shared some information for The Hollywood Reporter, and he put on the table the idea for a prequel story for the character. The idea is to make a story like a Ken Burns documentary on Vietnam. You drop the young Rambo there, and he's this outgoing guy, football captain, and then you see why he becomes Rambo, Stallone said. And he also added that he has some great ideas for this purpose. Ideas that will explore Rambo's backstory and will bring the character to his grounded roots. Besides the prequel idea, one of the possibilities for the Rambo 6 plot is for the movie to bring back the original ending for First Blood. Remember how Morell's novel ends? Our hero in the book was killed by Troutman with a shot in his head. But this novel's ending was modified, and the franchise reached its 5th film. So first, we need to find out if John Rambo passed away at the end of the last movie when he was sitting in front of his ranch house. He may have succumbed to his wounds, and that's why the idea for a prequel is the best solution. We'll see what's going to happen, hopefully very soon. Until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time!